I brought some of the club members with me. As we talked before, as an English teacher, one of my biggest problems is that students hate to read. Many students hate to read. Not all of them, but many students hate to read. And as an avid reader, I'm always shocked by this. And most report that they hate reading or they hardly ever read for pleasure. Most regarding reading, writing, and other English skills to be boring. They don't look forward to practicing those skills, whether writing, filling out forms, using an index, using charts, things like that. And also, a lot of students lack face-to-face social interactions beyond school. And most games that they do play are limited to video games and lack face-to-face social dimension. So we created the Dungeons and Dragons Club, it's a fantasy role-playing game, a couple years ago. And we did this to promote reading, to promote social interaction among students, to promote creativity. And we applied for the grant in order to, because one of the biggest problems was at first we were just relying on my own personal library. So we applied for a grant in order to purchase the books and manuals that they would need to play. So currently there's a growing body of research showing the benefits of fantasy role-playing in both in the classroom, after school, in therapy, and so on. In particular, Cade Wells, a freshman English teacher at Title I High School in Houston, created an entire Common Core curriculum using D&D, and it saw an increase of 10% on standardized test scores of those students who took his course. And those findings were presented at the World Literary Conference in Austria in 2017, so I thought, well, let's see if we can replicate that at Breathitt High School. And so there's kind of a growing movement also among teachers around the country who are implementing this in their classrooms and in after-school clubs. Our club began 2 years ago. It became increasingly popular. We have had a membership growing to around 25 members. Within our second year, we had 2 different weekly games going with 2 different groups of students playing. And students would meet after school from 3:30 to 7:30 on Mondays and role play their characters through a series of fantasy adventures, which I would direct as dungeon masters. But now we have some students who are now next year will be seniors will actually be running their own games and campaigns. So they're writing their own campaigns, creating their own characters, spending a lot of time working on this stuff. And so they'll be running, I think we're going to have 2 games next year. You're going to run one, you're going to run one, and then I'll be running one. So we'll probably have 3 games running next year, which will probably be about 30 students overall involved. The biggest problem that we had was the lack of handbooks and manuals that we needed to properly run the game. So we're either copying things, not entirely legally, and downloading PDFs and giving them my books and everything else. And so this is why we applied for the grant. So we were able to purchase more than 30 books. We have a full library. The students are able to check out books, and believe me, they are. Quite a bit, and they've been enthusiastically making use of the library, checking out books, and this has resulted in they're using them all the time, and they're reading quite a bit. And some of them they'd start playing the game, and then they would borrow the graphic novels that have to do with this, and then they want the actual novels that have to do with it. The next thing you know, they're reading novels, and they didn't mean to. And so that's just a kind of a nice picture of the collection of books that we got for them. And so far, the data has produced tangible results. I've been collecting reading scores on both MAP and ACT. ACT scores are coming in now, but so far they look really promising. But in every case, they've shown a steady increase in reading scores. Now, of course, these could be other factors, involved in this. Our awesome teaching and everything else that we're doing. But I also think that they're being inspired really to get into reading through playing the game. Actually, I know they are. Qualitatively, they've expressed this in surveys and just in conversation. And at this point, I just kind of want to hand this over to a couple of them to kind of tell you what they have experienced. Brady White, Derek Newcomb, Nathan Mays, and Daniel Weathers over there. These guys have been members of the club for a while. Derek has just joined this year, so but you've been playing all your life, so you're kind of an outlier there. So the rest of them just started playing 2 years ago. So Brady, you want to talk first?
Yeah. Hello, I'm Brady White. I joined the D&D club about 2 years ago whenever Harris came to the school. I'd never wanted to play D&D before, and I'd never really thought of many characters before that, or creativity. But the first character I made, sorry, the first character I ever made was this half-orc barbarian named Golgoth Cracktusk, which I based off of my own cracked tooth. And eventually I was like, okay, I can worked this character into the story, and now we're 2 years into the game, and I'm crossing paths with my rival, and it's pretty amazing.
Point out too, Brady's going to be running his own campaign next year. He's been writing a ton of material on villains and stories and adventures and creating his own settings. So he's been doing quite a bit of work on it.
Before I ever started playing D&D, I did not like reading at all, and I really started playing my seventh grade year at home, and then I found out that Harris ran a game at school, and I was reluctant at first, but then I joined, and it was awesome. And then I heard about the Icewind Dale trilogy. It was this. Basically, it was third edition, but it was awesome, and it really got me into reading, and it got me to want to study more about what all these different characters could do, and I really got into it. And actually, if it wasn't for D&D, I wouldn't have went out for a role for a position for the audition for the pact. Yeah.
He's trying to get into acting now.
Yeah. And I'll be taking his drama class next year. So.
Hello, my name is Nathan Mays, and before I played D&D, I was really antisocial, never really hung out with anyone. Always really kept to myself. I only had a very few friends, but I found out last year that Harris was running a D&D game. I thought, I've never really heard of it that much, but I thought I might try it out. And now it's second year, and I've had tons of friends now. I talk a lot more. I'm more open about things. I used to be really just taught myself, kept everything to myself. I've also felt that I've been reading a lot better. I've been doing a lot better in school. That's just been helping me a lot.
Nate would never have spoken to a room full of people.
Yeah.
He's actually lucky that I actually came today because I'm the laziest person he knows. Well, I never actually heard of D&D. Well, I started last year, and I still need help making characters. Always. And my very first character was a half-orc wizard. Odd combination. Half-orcs are very strong, not smart. And he looks exactly like me. He's large and in charge. I mean, he's 300 and something pounds. And I don't remember how tall, 6'5", maybe. And before that, I used to be the shyest person. You mean before I actually moved the Breathitt, I used to stay cooped up in a sweatshirt. I mean, always, even in the summer. And had a hood on. My hair looked like Goldilocks. Well, not the color. And then I grew it out, and people actually paid me to look at my hair. Because I looked kind of wild.
And Daniel moved here from Wisconsin, right?
Yeah.
You moved down from Wisconsin. You started at Breathitt, and made a lot of friends through gaming. Really, in a lot of ways.
I wouldn't say friends.
Okay.
He's getting there.
Allies. Allies.
All right, thanks, guys. All right, anyway, so give a round of applause, please. They act on nervous in here when you get them in front of the table. You can't shut them up. So, but anyway, so it's been successful, and we're looking into going into our third year with a lot of, like I said, with 2 new dungeon masters and a lot of new members coming in, and it's getting pretty exciting. So, thank you very much.
Also, I would like to add that my ACT score jumped 4 points since I.
Nice, good job. Nice.